Let's briefly talk about some of the silliest forms of misinformation I've seen floating around, where a lot of it comes from a complete misunderstanding of science and a complete misunderstanding of how things work. The first one being, oh, you don't like to breathe fresh air? A mask is literally a filter, so it's filtering the air, so that means that the air that I'm breathing is fresher than the air I would get from just breathing normally without a mask on. Number two, you can't breathe in a mask. Completely inaccurate. I actually work out in these. I go for long runs, I go for fast runs, I do high intensity interval training, I do weightlifting, all while wearing a mask. Unless you have a significant breathing issue like COPD, you should have no problems. The next series of ridiculous statements is, oh, didn't you know that the COVID virus is smaller than the fibers in a mask? And this is stemming from 3 or 4 different areas of complete misunderstanding of the science. The first being the word aerosol. A lot of people take aerosol to mean, oh, it's just something that floats in the air. So in their minds, it's a little virus that's literally just floating in the air. But aerosol is actually shortened for aerosolized droplet, meaning that the virus is not just free floating, it is free floating in a liquid droplet. And these liquid droplets, while microns small, they are still much larger than the fiber gaps in a mask. Now, one of the nice things about a N95 is that it actually has a positive charge that is permanently adhered to the mask. And why is that? Well, because these virus particles are existing in droplets, which are negatively charged. When you have a positive charge, that's going to attract the negative charge and it's going to stick to the outside surface where that positive charge is. Ergo, it's not going to flow through the mask. Second, there's multiple layers of these fibers, typically about 3 layers. So even if it were to pass through one layer, because they're sporadically assembled, sporadically layered, they're going to get caught in the next layer or the next layer. They're not really going to get through. The next part of this understanding is that people don't understand the difference between a surgical mask, a KN95, an N95, a KF94, etc. These are all completely different types of masks. A lot of people have only ever used surgical masks, these baggy blues over here. And on the box, it has a warning saying, hey, this is not a respirator, this is not going to protect against COVID-19 and other viruses, because these are designed for splashes, mostly things like blood and water and things like that. And it should be apparently obvious that when you're using something like this, there are big holes on the side. You should be able to use your skills of observation and discernment to say that this, with big old gaps all throughout, is nowhere near the equivalent of this. See the difference? Additionally, these are made of completely different materials. So no, these little surgical masks are not going to protect you against viruses, but these will. This is an N95. See the NIOSH certification right there? That's how you know it's an N95. And here's another N95, and as you can read right here, this respirator helps reduce exposure to certain airborne particles, like COVID. But misuse, not wearing it appropriately, may result in sickness or death. So tangled up in this belief that masks don't work is a bunch of fallacies. It's not understanding what an aerosol is. It's an aerosolized droplet, a virus existing in a very, very small liquid drop of water that can exist in the air. Not understanding the difference between masks and how masks work. Not understanding why different masks work against viruses while others don't. And then taking a box label warning for surgical masks and transposing it to all face masks, all respirators. It's ultimately a juvenile lack of understanding. So hopefully that helps. If you believed any of those things, hopefully now you don't. Because ultimately, masks do work. Masks are filters that actually make the air cleaner that you're breathing. And masks are a great public health tool because they both prevent the spread of illness between people that are actually sick, and they prevent you from getting sick yourself.